Okay, folks, I'm going to start the first unit, and we're going to get off with learning a little bit about political ideology. And in the next one, we're going to be later on looking into economics and looking into civil rights and how that works, and how things in art history and other areas work. And so we're going to start off with this one, looking at political ideology in a way that you will encounter when you go into a political science class, when they just go into the ideology and kind of what's involved. And so with this, we're going to do that from the beginning. Now, you should have already gone through the introductory video, and the English 104 readings are right here. You should know the syllabus and the readings. So we're going to be doing this coming up. And what we're going to be doing here is the political science readings. And so where we're starting is with these. And I'm going to kind of set the foundation for what we're going to be doing with these. There are the political science readings. That's going to be your essay for the first one. And you'll get used to this as we go through it when we do the economics and the other ones and see how they work, okay? So now we're going to be doing Lao Tzu. He was from way back, about 500 BC in Asia. And then Plato, also around 400 to 500 BC, back in ancient Greece, this place back here. Then we're going to be doing Machiavelli, who's later medieval, early Renaissance in Italy. And Wollstonecraft, Mary Wollstonecraft, is in England around the Romantic period, around the 1790s, 1820s, in that period. She is the mother of, so that's Mary Wollstonecraft is the mother of Mary Shelley, who was married to Percy Shelley, who's a famous poet. But you also know her daughter, and you don't know it, but her daughter wrote Frankenstein, wrote the original novel for that. So the people we're reading here were quite well known in political science or for other reasons. They're not necessarily people you hear about today. You're not going to run across these people on the bus. You didn't get on the bus and go to school and run into Plato, okay? So he was, ancient Greek. So we're doing a lot of the classical readings that lay the foundation. And that's what we're going to be doing throughout the semester. We're going to be doing that with economics and, with civil rights and other things. We're going to be doing the readings that lay the foundation. So let me go through that with you and set it up, and I'll get to how we're going to write the responses at the message board. And I know everybody is just starting off. Let's go ahead and start it up. And one thing I want to say from the beginning is I apologize for getting this video up a day late, to get you started. One thing I noticed is that some folks are just jumping in. They're late going to the video for introduction to the course. Probably you're getting settled in the other one. Make sure you get through that introductory video. If there's another issue going on, we'll settle it. Make sure you get a hold of me and send me an email, and I'll somehow resolve it, okay? Let me get everybody going. Almost everybody's watched the introduction video, and you want to start on political ideology. Okay, and let's start it. So I apologize for the late, but I did wait a little bit so folks could get caught up. Okay, so let's jump in. What the heck is ideology? Okay, it's a value system. Let me move myself down a little bit. How I'm going to approach it is that it's a value system. It runs deeper than party affiliation. And this is a little bit odd because most Americans are used to, whether if you're a Republican, you're a conservative, and if you're a Democrat, you're a liberal. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. It runs deeper than that. So it runs into your value system and how you organize the world. And if you pay too much attention and if you make too many assumptions based on the news in the United States, you're going to get confused when you go somewhere else. Because Europe or Central and South America, they really work differently, and so does Asia. And what's going on? So you need to understand that ideology lays below, much further below party affiliation. So that's what we're going to go after. We're going to go after ideology, which is at your basic value system. It's built around two different things. It's built around your assumptions about humanity, about human nature. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, okay? And then it goes to your assumptions about the organization of social situations, which are, if you make some assumptions about human nature, you're going to organize society around that. So, and there's two major ideologies that are floating out there. And again, I've got to warn you, these terms are used in a sloppy manner in the vast majority of political conversations in the United States. So political scientists use these much more precisely and better. Okay, so understand I'm going to try to cut down more deeply to a value system that's behind it. And in the vast majority of cases, people are a mixture of these. It's not just about, oh, I can get along with everybody. It's these value systems run more deeply than party affiliation. Okay, and you're going to see that. And in some situations, you might say, hey, I'm more on the liberal side, more on the conservative, or something like that. But be careful. It's not necessarily what they tell you, you know, in the liberal media or the conservative media of the United States. It's nah. Okay, let's go through this. There's two basic parts to this ideology, to these ideologies. And depending on how you work with one, it's going to tell you something about the other. And the liberal and conservative ideologies are built around what assumptions do you take about human nature? Are people, liberals basically assume that people are essentially good, that they are rational, and that they are by nature peaceful. They just want to get along. So that's, I don't want to cause any trouble. I just want to get to work today. I just want to go to school today. I just want to eat breakfast. Just leave me alone. I'm just cool. So that is that basically the way the person's behaving because of something else, or is that basically their nature? Okay, so a liberal assumes that their nature is basically peaceful, but it also assumes that the person is essentially rational and can figure things out, okay, and do it quite well. And if you try to figure it out for them, you're going to make a mess out of it, okay? And it assumes that they're basically good, okay? And a conservative ideology assumes that people are essentially selfish. What about me? I want mine, mine, mine. And that they're not entirely rational. They don't think it through. They're going to do things that are going to create trouble down the road for themselves and for other folks. And they're going to be essentially destructive. Not just because they like to destroy things, but because it's all about me. So that's the essential assumption about human nature. And it's not just about yourself, but about other people. At core, what are they? So these assumptions about human nature are behind all of these ideologies, behind liberal and conservative ideologies. And again, I want to be clear. Try to free yourself from what goes on in today's political conversations, because these terms have changed dramatically over the decades in American political conversations. And you don't want to use those because, boy, I'm telling you right now, if you were liberal back in about 40 years ago, you're not going to recognize a liberal today or a conservative. Things have changed dramatically. So the way those terms are used in most American political conversations is radically different than the way a political scientist would use them, because a political scientist would use them in a way that would cover not just the decades, not just the years and decades, but the centuries and the millennia. It will play out over and over again. Okay? And when you look at a liberal, they will essentially say, hey, you know what? Since people are essentially good and rational, they can figure it out, and they're peaceful, let them do what they want to do, because they're going to take care of themselves. They can do it. They will come up with a social organization that will work 100 times better than one that's top down. If you trust the government to figure it all out for you because the government's smarter and that kind of stuff, that's not going to work, because people can work it out on their own because they're rational. That's what a political scientist will see when he looks at, or he or she, when they look at, when that person looks at a social organization. If it's an organization that allows people to be rational and take care of themselves and be peaceful, they're going to assume that's basically a liberal ideology there. So don't listen to what people tell you on the news today. Those terms get used interchangeably. A conservative will not let people be. If you let people be, they will destroy themselves. They're going to turn it all, they're going to trash it all, and they're going to make a mess out of it. If you let them run it, if you step back and not get in there and organize it for them and bring out their best natures, they're going to wreck it, because they are essentially selfish, irrational, and destructive. And now, and I want to be careful with this. These are the basic ideologies that most political scientists would recognize. It's not what we, use today in, conversations. But these play out over the decades, centuries, millennia. And you'll see these over and over again. And we've swapped these back and forth many times. Okay? But watch how these play out. If we look at what's going on today, and I want folks to be careful about watching the news today. If you look at what's going on today in Hong Kong, you have people demanding that they, their rights and things like that, and the government stepping in and saying, no, we're going to tell you how it works. They are essentially following a conservative ideology. We know better than you do. And notice that not only does the government take that assumption, but many people, the counter-protests, also assume it. That there's people out here burning things, trashing things, wrecking things. They're very destructive. We need to trust the government to work things out. But there's other people on the other side saying, we demand our rights. We can figure it out. We know better than you do what our rights are. That essentially is how it's playing out. The communist government in China assumes that it knows best, and many people do trust the government to work it out better. That's essentially a conservative ideology. That's what it is. And that if we trust these people to run their own show, they're going to make a mess out of it. But many of the people in the streets are saying, you need to trust us to run our own show. We're going to do what's right. And you can kind of see those ideologies clashing and playing out. They are not essentially the news media, what they would assume about it, okay? And so keep that in mind with it. Now, one thing I want to tell you is when we get into the discussions, don't do what I just did, which is go into, contemporary events. Instead, try to go through the readings and treat them on their own terms. Now, what I've done with this unit, we've got 4 readings because I wanted to give readings from the history of political philosophy that were from both camps. What you will see with Lao Tzu, I'm going to argue that he is from the liberal camp because he's going to assume these things. And so does Wollstonecraft. We're going to do our first reading is Lao Tzu. Our last one is Wollstonecraft. I'm going to say the first one and the last one are both liberal. And I am going to say, I'm going to underline I, because I am going to say that Plato and Machiavelli both fall in the conservative camp. And I want to be clear about this. This is what I'm going to tell you because this is what most political scientists see in it. Most. Okay? You can disagree. I encourage you to, but make sure you follow the readings carefully. Okay? So you can, when you write your summary about it and your reaction to it, you could put Lao Tzu in the conservative camp and say, I don't care what Pendleton says. I say he's a conservative for these reasons. And you're going to find certain parts of it that put him in the conservative camp. Or you might put Plato in a liberal camp. So you can do that. I want to be very clear. This is not about, current political discussions where they poke each other in the eye. You must treat the readings carefully. I will be putting up a Lao Tzu video tomorrow. And I will explain Lao Tzu and how he works. And then I will show you why he is considered to be liberal. Why he's considered to be that way. So I will give you the traditional approaches that they seem to reflect. But I want you to know that you have every right to disagree or to agree. That's perfectly fine. Okay? But what I want you to do is to first to understand them on his or her own terms and how they're working. And then you place them in the camp that you want to do. Okay? So that's going to be the discussion that you're going to do after you complete the reading. And this is something you'll get used to as we go through the semester. So listen to my basic approach, consider your own interpretation as you work through, and then summarize what's going on in the reading and give at the end your basic position on the reading. It's yours. Okay? So listen to my basic approach. You can go ahead and do the reading. I can go ahead and add this to this. Complete the reading on your own is the usual approach most people take. Some people might start the reading, and I'm warning you, Lao Tzu is kind of tough stuff. If you jump into Lao Tzu, it can drive people bonkers. Okay? It looks very simple, but it's not. There's a lot going on in it. Same thing with all of these readings. There's more going on than what looks to be going on. So complete the reading and then go, why the heck did Pendleton assign this to us? Then watch my video and I'll walk you through it. So I'm going to make a video on Lao Tzu. I'm going to make one on Plato. I'm going to make one on Machiavelli and Wollstonecraft. And those are coming up. So, but as you go through the Lao Tzu and maybe through the reading, keep track of things and try to see if you're dealing with either a liberal or conservative ideology. What kind of assumptions does he or she make about humanity? Are most people good, or are they kind of a problem? And you're going to see this as we go through it. You're just learning it. You're just starting English 104, so you're going to get good at finding this. And this is what political scientists do. They really think about, what are you assuming about human nature? And what does your social organization demonstrate about your assumptions? And you could be either way. Okay? So watch these readings and watch the way I go through with them and try to play around and see how it works. You might find you agree with me or disagree with me, but make sure you know why. I won't be pushing my interpretation so much as I will be pushing the traditional approaches to Lao Tzu, Machiavelli, Plato, and Wollstonecraft. I'm trying to do traditional approaches, but you know, if you want to disagree on this one, go for it. Or agree on that one, great, that's fine. So just be aware that you must work with the reading first in order to come up with your reaction, what you're going to come up with. And you can take some notes as you're going through it. Is you're going to, this is what you're going to do beforehand. Complete the reading, listen to my basic approach, go, either Pendleton's bonkers or he knows what he's talking about. Just don't tell my boss, okay? And then consider your own interpretation. Go, you know what? I always thought Lao Tzu was conservative. And you know what? I know better than this guy. This is fine to disagree with me. And then go ahead and summarize your basic points on Lao Tzu. And show me how he's essentially structured. And then tell me whether or not you think he is essentially liberal or conservative. And I will tell you, with these readings, there's enough room to take either interpretation. There is. It's not anything goes. You have to kind of decide which one goes better. Okay? So, blah, blah, blah. So these are the readings right here. This is, how things work. And then I'm going to be posting a discussion. It's going to be over here. You're going to go to the Lao Tzu discussion, and you're going to post your own response. Don't worry. And you won't be able to read other people, what somebody else writes, until you've posted your own. So go ahead and post yours as best you can. Try to be thorough rather than perfect. Don't try to be perfect in the discussions, okay? Don't try to be perfect in the discussions. Consider the discussions here on your left-hand side, the discussions to be like a class discussion, where you can just say something. Here you're going to write it. But in class you can just say something and then go, wow, okay, now I see this differently. And that's perfectly fine. So consider the discussion a place for you to discuss ideas, bring things up, and consider things. You might totally change your mind by the time the final essay comes up. So I will be posting a video on the essay later on. Let's get the videos going, or get the discussion going on the political science stuff, and you'll be able to read what other people wrote after you've written your own. Okay, so just get Lao Tzu going, get the reading going, watch my video on it. I should be doing that tomorrow. And then you're going to be writing up your discussion, your summary of it. And then you're going to put him either liberal, conservative, and then look at other people, what they've said, okay? So give your best, guys. This is your first discussion post. Don't worry about it. Just do your best with it. And if you don't do a great job on this, you'll do greater on, later ones. Just do your best. You're starting English 104. Give it your best and have some fun with Lao Tzu. Don't go too bonkers with him. He is pretty tough. Okay, so get the reading done. Get my video done. It's going to be tomorrow on just on Lao Tzu and on his ideology, and then summarize what's going on with him, and then you put him in either the liberal or the conservative camp. Don't say somewhere in between. I hate it when people are always cooperative. I hate cooperative people. Either you place him in liberal or conservative. You pick a side. He's either liberal or conservative, and you decide, and for which reasons. Okay, just do your best with it, and just type as much as you can. About a good long paragraph would be a good posting for the discussion. Okay, and I'll shut up there. I'm a little bit over 20 minutes. I try to keep these under 20. So go ahead and get the reading done, and then get the discussion done by Friday. I think I gave you, but make sure you watch my Lao Tzu video tomorrow. Okay, take care, folks. Take care.